This is Mary Lewis at A Tiny Homestead, the podcast comprised entirely of conversations with homesteaders, cottage food producers, and crafters. Today I'm talking with Therese at Shortstack Ranch. Good morning, Therese. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Good. You're in California?
I am. We are in Northern California, just a little bit north of Sacramento.
Okay. Well, tell me about yourself and Shortstack Ranch.
So the Shortstack Ranch, I retired from 25 years with the California Department of Corrections about 2 years ago, and it had always been my dream to have comfort care minis, and I never really thought would happen. But I've also been heavily involved since I was in college with Special Olympics. And everything just kind of fell together. I was gifted two beautiful miniature horses by a wonderful woman, Sharon Mariam, who had them both for 15 and 30 years, but she's been involved in the mini world for about 35 years. And I had asked her to mentor me, and she luckily was just trying to get out of the mini world because of age and other commitments and things like that. So she mentored me, very special to me. So it just kind of grew. We ended up getting Kenny and Kevin, and then we got two goats that were supposedly pregnant, and they were supposed to be due any minute. And 58 days later, my one goat was not pregnant at all, and the other goat had four, which is incredibly unusual. They only have two teats and really can only, manage about two. Well, we ended up bottle feeding three of them, which is just like a newborn baby every 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So bottle feeding those guys. And then in that process, we got kind of a whole bunch of stuff happened at once. Kevin suffered a very bad injury. He had fallen and he suffered a spinal cord injury to his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And we did not think that he would make it. He did not stand for almost 10 days. He was completely paralyzed from the neck down. And he was such a fighter. Limus Basin Medical Equine Facility was amazing because he was so little. He was under 200 pounds. We could prop him up and hold him up. And it took us he got out of the intensive care about 58 days later and was walking with a limp. But we worked on his physical therapy. And in the meantime, we ended up getting two donkeys from a kill pen that were very badly neglected, could barely walk. One had one eye. So that was Bailey and Baxter. And then we had heard about a gentleman who had passed away and left 5 minis behind with nobody to take them. And over the course of the next 2 months, we ended up getting 4 of those. One had passed while it was still at the sanctuary. And so that was Sophia and Rose. And goodness gracious, I'm kind of spacing. Chandler, which we changed his name to Wyatt and Jesse. So we had those 4, yes. And so we now had this zoo, basically, and we also have 2 Great Danes that are very, very large, a silver lab that was rescued, and a cat that came with the house that we rent.
Very nice.
That's the Shortstack Ranch in a nutshell. We sadly did end up losing Kevin. He just succumbed to his injuries. Just wasn't strong enough a couple months ago. And Wyatt, who was 32, also passed. But they both had wonderful end of life here with all of their buddies around. And we've had, I have friends and family and just people that I know, and my Special Olympic athletes come by, and everybody loves on them. They're just incredible. We've taken some of them to memory care facilities. I'm learning how to do that. It's a process. Every day is a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them starred in a in a manger scene at one of the local churches, and we're part of a play. So it's been crazy. Not at all what I had thought would happen when I ventured into this. We it is a financial burden, that's for sure, but it is one that, I look at my life and I'm like, oh my gosh, this it couldn't be any better. It's just happy.
Mm-hmm. I
So
have so many questions. Um, so are you registered as a 501c3 nonprofit, or how are you doing that?
I am working on that. I'm not super good with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that person who likes hanging out with the horses and doesn't like paperwork. I'll admit it. But we are in the process of doing that. We kind of had to take a break. We had some pretty bad storms out here, and it was about a month after we finished building everything. My poor husband built everything. We had a really bad storm of hurricane level winds, and it took away all of our barns and all of our fencing. So we are literally in the process, if anybody's been following us on Facebook and Instagram, of rebuilding. And everything happens for a reason. We've met so many wonderful people along the way. We did have a friend of mine set up a GoFundMe for Kevin's expenses, because they were upwards of 20,000.
Yeah.
But God provides. We certainly feel that God provides, and it's just, we're working on that. I'm trying to find the right way to go about it. So, but there's been, right now it's just get them settled and get their homes back, to where they're back in stalls and all of that. And then that's going to be my next adventure of getting that squared down, because it's all this has happened. Literally, it's almost a year. On May 26th is when I took Kenny and Kevin. And so we're not even in 365 days into this. So a lot has happened in that short period of time.
Yeah. I'm guessing that the name Shortstack Ranch is because all of your rescues are minis.
Yes, my
Okay.
my came up with that and did a logo for me. So we got that done. And yeah. So, and it's funny because our Great Danes are actually larger than our horses and our donkeys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
Danes are moose dogs. They're
Yeah.
humongous.
Yes. And we
Okay.
have Danes, so they're even bigger. We have one that's close to 200 pounds.
Wow. I
Yeah.
can't even
And
imagine.
just,
Our dog weighs 35 pounds. So they're
yeah.
they're like 7 times bigger than she is. That would be crazy here.
When we got the Great Danes, we had a little Boston, and they were all so close. I mean, all of our animals just cuddle and are just wonderful together, to see their interaction from all sizes. The Danes love the horses. Anytime they're out, that's where they're heading. And it's funny because they're runners. They like to run, so we don't let them out off leash. We have a pretty large, almost an acre fenced in for just the dogs.
Yeah.
And if they do happen to sneak away, we just go out to the barn, and there they are.
They want to be with their buddies.
Yeah, yeah, they think they can play with them, but I don't know how that would go, because they play rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So how big is a mini horse on average?
On the average, so there's some standards from the AMH, which is the American Miniature Horse Registry, AMHR,
Hmm.
and it's 27 inches. There's different ones. My smallest one was 27 inches. That was Wyatt. He was barely 150 pounds.
Okay.
Um, Up to 38 inches. I have one that would be Jesse, that's on the tallest side. So, and then the rest are all within the 30-inch, 31-inch range.
So they're short guys.
They're short guys. They are.
Okay. Okay.
Furry.
I got hooked on watching Katie Van Slyke on Facebook, and her mini horse just had a
Yeah,
baby like 3 days ago.
that
And
that's kind of how I started. I started following her, and with Poppy and Petunia.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
it's like my guilty pleasure. I get up in the morning early and it's still dark out and the house is quiet. And I have my coffee and I flip on the local news and I pull up Katie and see what she's posted overnight. It's terrible.
Posted
I feel like a stalker.
on the West Coast, it's later. So I get like in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and I look and I see, has she posted, and it's like, it's
Mhm.
happened. And by the time I get up, and I do the same thing when I'm getting ready, I have my coffee and I just put the horses out. But that's the first place I go is who was born, what's up. But yes, her little guy with Karen, it is incredible how tiny they really are. And it's very hard to tell until you actually see them, standing up. And she's a tall girl.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I think that new baby Squirt
oh,
is
yes.
about the same size as my dog. That's what I'm guessing. He's
Yeah,
taller, but
he's
I'm
probably
assuming
both
he's
a
probably
lot tall.
35 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, he comes up to her knees,
Yeah.
and the other are up to her waist. So
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Wyatt, if you look at the pictures at the Shortstack Ranch, Wyatt, when we brought him home, he's below my waist. I mean, his back is to my thigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's teeny.
Yep, it makes me want one, but then I think they probably eat a lot and feed is expensive, so I'm probably not ever gonna have a mini horse. I just
They don't. They are very manageable. They
yeah.
don't eat a lot. No, they don't. They eat 1 to 2% of their body weight in hay, and then they get some supplements in grain. But Kenny is my chunky dunk. I call him my king. He looks at food and he gets fat. And the rest get kind of normal. They're a little bit harder keepers, which means that they don't put on weight as fast. Kenny gets a quarter cup of grain and a quarter pound of hay morning and night. That's
Wow. Okay.
it. It's nothing. Now the others get about a quarter of a flake, but a flake, if you want to, they need a partner.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it is, and the vet bills and the farrier bills are much lower because they're tiny. They do have some other specific needs, as far as how they work and what they can eat and how you manage them. But they're you could easily do too. You can
Yeah.
come fine and you can decide.
My husband would not be happy with me if I was like, I think we should get too many horses and we should get them as babies. He would be like, you are out of your mind. No.
No, but that's how it starts.
Hmm.
It's a I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, maybe start with some baby goats. The miniature goats are pretty cute too.
Yeah, I don't know. I am so on the fence about any more critters. We have the dog, we have 3 barn cats, and we have like 18 or 19 chickens. And we have a 3.1 acre property
You have
with
plenty of room.
house and big pole barn and the whole bit. And
I'm not. I'm not letting you off the hook.
yeah, I don't know. We have a lot going on right now, so I think I'm gonna wait until this winter to float any more new ideas to him because he's gonna be like, no, no, no,
Yep.
no,
Well,
no.
I started, and now my husband has literally almost every day for a year been a farm boy.
Hmm. Yep.
But it is very very fulfilling and heartwarming. But it is a commitment. You can't go anywhere past 5 o'clock. You can't go anywhere early in the morning. I mean, you have to have some kind of a backup system.
Yeah.
We don't vacation. I mean, we have 14 animals. Where are we going to go that somebody's going to come and watch 14 animals?
Yeah.
So
If you have a high school near you, maybe a high school student who's interested in animal husbandry and ag might want to come.
we've actually talked about that. We have a couple people who say that, I have a great friend that does it, but we like people to spend the night at the house.
Mhm.
And So then that puts you into the 18 and over age. And it's funny because everybody has a dog, or everybody, it's like, well, you can't bring your dogs, but we do have options, and we have gone away. It's just one of those things to where I will admit, I just want to get back home. I miss them so much. I am still obsessed with them. I go out and I just sit out there with a glass of wine in my chair, and I sit in the pasture, and they snuggle and nuzzle and kiss, and my donkeys literally sit on my lap. Yeah, their donkeys are like the most Velcro dogs you've ever seen. Um, they're amazing. But yeah, it's certainly been a wonderful thing that I never thought I would do until I started watching Katie, because she is literally my inspiration. I was retiring, and I started, having a little bit more time, because working for corrections, you don't have your phone with you a lot, things like that. And it was like, oh, well, and I started following her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this. And I was going to get the mini cows, and but to find them in a rescue situation, because that was something that was very important to me, was to rescue is fault. And then it's going to sound kind of funny, but I don't really like cow manure.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. Horse and goat. Like, it's like, it's just easy. I don't mind picking it up. I don't mind dealing with it. But cow patties are not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And so we ended up going with more horses and no cow.
Well, maybe the perfect mini cow who needs to be saved will find you.
That could be, I find that if you open the doors, things happen. And
Yeah.
what's happened here with this whole crazy thing. Yeah.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. I don't know that I have the energy or the patience to do anything like that. So I'm glad there's people in the world like you who do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is. I'm 60. And so it's kind
Mhm.
of funny. Literally in my will, I have set up for them, because I don't want them to be in the situation to how I got them,
Yeah.
So the other thing about rescuing older, like my youngest is 15, is their life expectancy is about 30 to 35. So it's a huge commitment. It's much bigger than getting a dog, and the minis, they live longer than normal horses. I should say not normal, but standard size horses.
Yeah.
And so it is a big commitment. And that was one of the things that was very important to my husband and I, is to ensure that they have a place to go and they are financially able to be taken care of, as well as our family, if anything happens to us, because we don't want them just left on property like we found many of our.
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose of all the work that you've done. So I can understand why you want to make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
yep.
Okay. So what's the plan for Shortstack Ranch long term?
Long term is to get everything rebuilt. We are getting close. We just literally yesterday finished fencing the perimeter, um, and got the grass mowed, because you can't put them just straight out onto grass. It's too rich. So today they are going to go out for their first time for a couple hours on the grass, and have some, back to, instead of the temporary pasture that I had for them, which was more of a pen,
Mm-hmm.
get that room to move, get everything rebuilt, and then start. I've been working with them, and Sharon comes out. She'll be out here later today, and we are working with some of these rescues to see what their mannerisms are even more. I only take two that I'm, more comfortable with, but get the others a little bit more accustomed to different environments, and possibly have them do different things, such as driving, which is pulling a cart, and just getting it more set up to where people can come and visit and get their hearts warmed by just having them love on them. So
That's what I was going to ask you, is if you're going to have just people come in and visit. not just
Yeah.
necessarily the people you
Yeah.
talked about before. So,
That's what we would like. We don't want to make like a business out of it. We do, we're very, very blessed. We rent our property. Our landlord, when we, when we were looking, his ad said small dogs considered. So I
uh-huh.
sent of our two Great Danes in their most stately size photo and just said, if this is a deal breaker, just let us know and we won't bother you anymore. And they said, well, come on out. And then a year later, like I said, they agreed to this. So we do want to keep things manageable, as far as not just have this be, like just a ton of people all the time, but people that need it. It's a very small town. Lincoln is a very small town, so I don't see it being anything crazy. Um, but we've had a couple Girl Scout troops come by. That's been wonderful. We've had a homeschool group from here in Lincoln. They've come by, so it's more that trust factor, and I've got to get the liability insurance and all of those things are business side of it.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we've mostly stuck with people that we know so far. But that's the hope for the future is to expand that, to have it to where, by appointment, people can come by and spend some time with these wonderful animals.
That's awesome. So, are there other mini animals that you're considering getting?
No, I'm good right now. That was the agreement with the lovely landlord that, we are, we're at our max if, and financially it's perfect. It's a manageable, this is very manageable, versus getting a lot more. And I'd really more like to just work on having this group be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
There's a long ways to go with one of them. We literally couldn't even, like, he wouldn't even let you touch him, and now he snuggles up to me. Jesse is quite, he was very, very skittish. We would have to sedate him to do his farrier work, and he's just come so far in just a couple months. And so I'm really looking forward to just expanding what these guys can do and fully exploring that.
Yeah, it's amazing what love and feeding an animal will do to turn them around.
Yeah.
Um, we have, I've sort of mentioned the cat before, but we have a black barn cat. He's a male, and we
Satan,
got him
right?
from, yep, we got him from the Humane Society.
Yes.
And they told us flat out when we adopted him that he was a feral stray cat and that people at the Humane Society were afraid to touch him, get near him because he would scratch and hiss. And they said he will never be friendly. When you take him home, put some water and some food in something, and we made him like a box, a wood box that was big enough for him to have a food bowl and a water bowl. And they said, put him in the box. Let's keep him in the box wherever his house is going to be, wherever he's going to live for like 2 days, and then let him go. And if he stays, great. And if he doesn't, you're out of luck because
Yep.
he was just not friendly at all.
Yeah.
And our son bonded with him. And now Satan will come up to me and ask for pets and rub against my ankles. And we just tried to let him make the moves, and we made sure that he had food every morning. We don't
Hmm.
feed him at night because we want him to hunt. We want him to hunt
Right.
the mice in the barn.
With our
And
our
mhm,
yeah, we have Oreo. We give him a little bit, but he came with the house, and yeah, we just give him a little bit of food and he brings me a present every day.
yeah, so they told us we would never be able to pet this cat, to give him a wide berth and just let him be a barn cat. And he is the loveliest kitty. He's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
So
yeah.
love goes a long way.
Yeah. And that's the rules that I follow. If they don't want to do something, unless it's going to harm them, um, it'd be a danger. I don't force anything.
Mhm.
Um, when we in the storm, we were trying to move them it was literally 10 o'clock at night, and it was horrible rain and wind, and we were trying to get them out of where they were to a secure area. and one of them didn't want to go. And it was the only time I've had to, like, come on, you're gonna do this. And I twitched him a little bit with the rope on his bottom to get him moving, because he was afraid, but I didn't have time to coax him through it. And
Yeah.
we just don't believe in that. And I will, with Jesse, he's my skittish one, that he would not come to you at all. And now I just ask him, I'm like, I hold the rope and I hold his halter, and if he turns his back to me, I just go do something else and wait until he looks at me. And then it's some easy as pie, and he gives me permission. And, luckily we have the time and the patience, and there's no rush to do that, unlike when, if there's an emergency, or you have to have a horse or any animal do anything. But that's our philosophy, is listen to them, look at them, and, reward good behavior, and just take everything slow and stop. Be prepared to just stop. I mean, he's half clipped right now, because he was great about letting us clip most of his body, and then it was like, okay, I'm done. I've never had this done before. I think I've been really good, but I'm done now. And we're like, all right. And we just stopped. And so he's running around looking kind of awkward, but we're going to work on it again today and take it nice and slow. And it's so cool when they connect with you and go, I trust you.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
not like he has to be in formal wear to be on the ranch, so he's good.
Exactly. So, it's like, all right, you don't want to get groomed today? Well, we won't force it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to post at least once a day so that people can see. We just the last couple months or a couple weeks opened up the Shortstack Ranch Facebook page, instead of having it on my own personal page, where I have about 1,200 friends, but trying to get, it's hard to work with sometimes with Facebook. I'm not super tech savvy. So I'm like, well, how do I make this? So you see me videotaping, I fall, everything, it's pretty funny. I was sitting on a salt block one time, and they were being so cuddly that I fell over, and and you can just see the phone flying through the air, and you know but people get a kick out of it. They just, there's no editing.
Those are the
But
best videos. Yeah.
yeah, but so I try to let everybody know at least once a day. We took a little bit of a break when we were doing the rebuilding, because there's not a whole lot when I'm just taking them from their stalls to this, outdoor pen. It's just not super exciting. And all day long, instead of playing with them, which is what I usually do, we were working and rebuilding. And so there wasn't a lot of content. So I kind of went back and did some of the history of the Shortstack Ranch and how it started, to get new people on the same page, up to speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, follow along. Anybody who wants to know what's going on in the crazy place out here in Northern California. Incredibly rewarding. I can't even express how blessed we are.
Yeah. I have one more question. The mini horses and the mini donkeys, did they actually hang out in the same space, and do they get along?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on the attitudes. I have a true mare, and if mares can be mares.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of that bad word. I have the two females. One is very, very docile, and my oldest, she's 30. That's Sophia. She rules the roost. If she comes, she'll turn around and she's got teeth bared, but then she's the snuggle. So she manages the herd, which is pretty funny. But we did take our time and introduced through fencing, and then just short periods of time with observation, all of that. But the only time that there's an issue is for attention or for treats, and
Yep.
we're working on it. Yeah. So we're
Just like kids. Yes.
and they're all toddlers. No matter what their age, they're all toddlers. So
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, Therese, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and much.
you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.